On today's episode, we talk Spartan Games Day 1 with the OCR Report team. Welcome to the OCR Report podcast, brought to you by the OCRReport.com. We are the only podcast to focus exclusively on the elite sport of obstacle course racing, from Spartan to Tough Mudder to the OCR World Championships, and wherever the elites are racing, we are there. My name is Will Hicks, and this is the OCR Report. Welcome back to the OCR Report podcast. Thank you for listening. Today in our show, we are talking about the Spartan Games. The Spartan Games are a 4-day, 10-event competition between elite athletes from multiple different disciplines. There are OCR athletes, there are ultra marathoners, there is an ex-NFL player, there is an American Ninja Warrior, there are CrossFit athletes, functional fitness champions. You can watch day 1 of the Spartan Games on the Spartan Race YouTube channel. The show is great. It is well done, it is entertaining to watch, and it is motivating to get you outside and working out, rip you off the couch, like Joe DeSena says. The Spartan Games on the Spartan YouTube channel. You should watch that episode before you listen to this episode, as there will be spoilers. Like, the whole episode you're about to listen to is about the Spartan Games. Watch the show first, then come back and listen. You can email me, willhicks@gmail.com. You can follow the show on social media at the OCR Report. And you can text me at 619-485-2726. Shoot me a text, 619-485-2726. That is my preferred mode of communication these days. When we have a new episode going live, you will get an early link to listen first, and you will get an occasional text from me about OCR or OCR-related news. 619-485-2726. You can also leave a review for the show on Apple Podcasts or lovethepodcast.com/OCR, and I will read it on a future episode. Leave us a review. I would appreciate it. Before we get on the phone with Mike Stefano, Jason Dupree, Anna Landry, and Carlo Piscitello, I want to talk about competition in OCR. Yesterday, I saw Amelia Boone is working with the Chosky Endurance Collective. Chosky offers elite level coaching for runners. Amelia isn't coaching, but she is working with them, offering help to their clients as she can. Look up Chosky Endurance on Instagram for more information. I was thinking about Amelia. She is the first OCR athlete I really knew as an athlete. If you don't know Amelia Boone, she's won World Subs Mudder twice. She's won the Spartan World Championship once. She was the first OCR athlete to really get some crossover attention from mainstream running media, magazine covers, beef jerky commercials, that kind of stuff. She was the first one I knew as an athlete. Before any of these podcasts and before I started with World's Toughest Mudder, I knew who she was and her OCR exploits. As a fan, she did good in races, and I would root for her. I have done hundreds of interviews for these podcasts over the last however many years. Amelia is the only interview I have done that I got starstruck in. I had to stop the interview and ask her if we could start over. She was a good sport. I was just a fan before all this other stuff, before all the other OCR stuff we work with came about. I root for Amelia. I've said in the past, I don't root for athletes. I root for a good race. I root for no injuries. And that's true. I stand by that. But I do root for athletes. I root for all of them. I can root for Amelia at the same time I root for Rhea Coble in the same race. The difference between individual sports like OCR and running and the difference between those sports and the team sports that you probably watch on TV, like baseball and basketball, football. I live in San Diego. We are Padres fans in this house. We hate the Dodgers. Everyone hates the Dodgers. Giants fans hate the Dodgers. Yankees fans hate the Dodgers. Literally everyone hates the Dodgers.
It's the Dodgers, man. Nobody likes the Dodgers.
Thanks to Fox Sports, Eric Lauer, former Padres pitcher. The difference between those sports and OCR is you can pull for multiple athletes at the same time. Amelia and Rhea. I can root for Trevor Psychos and Christopher Mendoza at the same time. Yes, they are competing with each other, but they're competing against themselves and against the course. Trevor Psychos has told me this. Like, his goal at World's Toughest Mudder every year, he's getting 100 miles, and he'll see where that lands him on the podium. As long as he gets 100 miles. Yeah, he wants to win, but he wants to get 100 miles. I think athletes are different, right? But Trevor Psychos specifically, if he got 100 miles and finished in 4th place, I think he'd be okay with that. I can't think of an athlete in OCR that I root against. Even though they are competing against each other, OCR, more than any other sport I follow, has a spirit of teamwork and a form of aggressive camaraderie. And that is why this whole drama between Hunter and Aaron Newell is so jarring. They seem to legitimately dislike each other. I'm not saying all the elites are best friends with each other, and this is the first time 2 OCR athletes haven't gotten along with each other and aren't braiding each other's mullets. Of course not. They're people, just like you and me. Some people you vibe with, and some you don't. It's not a big deal. We talk about it a bit in our panel discussion in a minute, and I'm not going to get all TMZ about it, this Hunter and Aaron thing. If you want the soap opera, you're going to need to go somewhere else. But it has to be addressed. As far as I know, throwing a bucket at your opponent has never happened in a Spartan race. 10 years. Never happened. I got a text message from Scott Knowles from the I Am a Spartan podcast that got me thinking about this. Imagine if that bucket throw had happened in a regular race. Seriously. Some open waiver just hauls off and hucks his bucket at another racer. Someone's back. What would happen? What if it happened to you? Some dude chucks a bucket at you on the course. What would you want Spartan to do about it? Here's what I think would happen. If that bucket throw had happened at a regular race, I think that the thrower would be escorted off the course by security, and I think they would be banned for life. From Spartan Race, from Tough Mudder, and maybe by the other companies also. This isn't a small deal. We need to talk about it. I acknowledge that. But the soap opera stuff, I mean, it is what it is, I guess. Speaking of soap operas, here's a bit of breaking television news.
We have a problem.
Secret's out, chicken man. I'll take care of this.
You're ruining everything! Just kill him already!
Who the hell are you? Harlan Sanders, the new chef.
Mario Lopez is Colonel Sanders in A Recipe for Seduction. Premieres December 13th at noon. Only on Lifetime. Presented by Kentucky Fried Chicken.
I enjoyed talking with our OCR Report team about the Spartan Games. We're going to do one of these recaps after each episode of the Spartan Games. So be sure to watch the show on YouTube before you listen. If you enjoy our talk, be sure to leave a review on Apple Podcasts. If you would like to text me like Scott Knowles, my cell phone is 619-485-2726. after you listen, if you're jonesing for more OCR content, check out the other guys' shows on the OCRreport.com or search for their show on your favorite podcast player. I feel like I barely mentioned our Threadless shop. If you want an OCR Report t-shirt or merch from any of our shows, go to the OCRreport.threadless.com. If you want it in time for Christmas, you should do it fast. COVID is delaying some shipping stuff. I'm not 100% sure what the shipping times are. Go to the OCRreport.threadless.com to learn more. It's time to talk with Mike Stefano, Anna Landry, Jason Dupree, and Carlo Piscitello. Let's go to the phones. Mike Stefano, Jason Dupree, Carlo Piscitello, and Anna Landry. Welcome back to the show. How are you guys?
Thank you, Will. Doing great.
Good. How are you?
Doing well. Thank you, Will.
So this week, the Spartan Games premiered episode 1. We're going to talk about the overall event and then break down each of the individual competitions, kind of talk about it, give our thoughts on it. And then at the end, we'll talk about episode 2, predict what we think is going to happen, and just kind of break it down. Let's just start out. Mike Stefano, what did you think of the Spartan Games?
First off, I thought it was very well edited. I got one of those texts from Joe DeSena, that fake number of his, saying, this is the best quality Spartans ever put out. And my first reaction was, okay, the bar's somewhat low there. But they knocked it out of the park. I thought it was very, very well done. I'm very impressed with the quality, and I'm a big fan of the athletes, so I was super excited to watch that. But it should be interesting to see how the points roll out and everything.
First of all, that's not a fake number. That's a real number. I have one of those too, and I talked to my listeners on it, and it's very real. So anyway, Jason, what did you think of the Spartan Games?
I did love the production value of it. The show itself was really good. But the biggest thing that was interesting to me is just that it wasn't the best show for watching a competition. It really was more in line with a reality show. You get some competition, but more it was just about the drama, and they just didn't have enough shots and coverage of the actual, competing.
Carlo, what did you think of the reality show versus competition aspect? I think Jason's got a good point, although I think some of the events, like the swim in particular, are probably difficult to really do well as far as filming goes. So I give him a pass on that. But yeah, I think anytime you have this kind of a format, especially with some of the personalities they have, it's definitely makes sense to play to those a little bit, right? So overall, though, I really enjoyed the first episode. I had very little as far as expectations going into it. So far, I think it's been really good.
And it was really enjoyable still. It's just I couldn't quite tell which version of it would I rather have. I want to see both, to be honest.
Anna, what did you think of the competition versus drama aspect?
There was definitely some drama, right? Like right off the bat in the first competition, but it was entertaining. Definitely liked, again, the production value and everything was way better than watching, their Spartan team challenge thing that they attempted.
I'd forgotten about that.
Yeah, it was definitely a step up.
I said this in my last episode on World Subs Podcast, but I feel like they've cracked it. They've solved, this is like the kind of the middle ground between the documentary race style, which I love. They're great races. We know, and for us, we know most of the athletes, so we don't need the backstory. And the other extreme is that Spartan Team Challenge show, which was not good. And it's kind of, they're trying to thread this needle right in the middle. And I think they've kind of cracked the secret here.
Yeah, it just took a global pandemic and YouTube.
If hundreds of thousands of, never mind, I'm not going to say it. At least there is something good to come out of 2020. No, I'm not going to say it. That's tasteless. I'm glad that, you know what, they said it actually. I think Mike Morris said it in the intro or the beginning, first 5 minutes, like people want to, watch something, and we got to do something. We have to make something. And you can tell they kind of went out to their sponsors and said, hey, we're doing this event, private, small event. Some of the swim, that's a natural fit with a wetsuit sponsor, right? It's just, hey, we're doing a swim. Let's get a wetsuit sponsor. Awesome. But then they also went the other way, hey, let's go to this Sledgehammer Company or whatever, or whatever. And let's make hey Sledgehammer Company or Kaiser. Yeah, if you sponsor us, we'll make an event around it. Like they went the other way for that event. So
yeah.
Well, it was interesting that they didn't have a TV broadcast sponsor. There was no CBS or or Fox or anything. It was, let's make it on our own. Let's put it on YouTube. So it's awesome that they went for it and did it.
I feel like it was so last minute that they didn't even have time to really shop around with that idea. I'm not sure.
Probably.
Well, that was probably to their benefit too, because like imagine watching that on like NBC or Fox or something, and then you have like shots of athletes drinking body armor or like close-up shots of all the sponsors, and you're like, I could do without all those.
And they still did. I mean, they definitely got those
a little
in there.
bit.
I mean,
yeah.
There was like in the first couple seconds, there's a weird random shot of like something that said Harley Davidson, and I was like, yes,
yeah.
Those bills aren't going to pay themselves.
Well, Mike's spelled it out pretty well to the athletes. Like, these are our sponsors, so here's what you're going to be drinking.
Yeah.
So episode 1 of the Spartan Games included 3 events. The first one was the Spartan Cross. Second was the open water swim. The third was the Highland Games. The Highland Games had 3 mini events inside of it. The Spartan Stones, the Kaiser Sledgehammer,
right,
and help me with the third one, the Tug of War. Kaiser Sled Challenge is what it's called. Let's talk about the Spartan Cross first. What did you guys think of the Spartan Cross? Let's talk about the men's race first. Carlo, what did you think of the Spartan Cross?
Yeah. I thought the men's race went kind of as expected, really. I kind of figured going into it, it was going to be either Atkins or Hunter, and that's kind of how it turned out. Although, looking at the times, I think Atkins won by like 4 minutes or something like that. So, and then it was Kent came in third, and he was a couple minutes behind Hunter. So I think it went kind of as predicted. It was fun to watch because I think a lot of folks, especially when it's just because someone's like a really good athlete and you bring them to an OCR course, I think they kind of get the sense that like, well, I can probably figure that out. I can do that pretty easily or whatever. And you got to definitely see that, some of the athletes from other disciplines definitely struggled, especially having to do the obstacles over and over and over. Like, I think a lot of them could probably get through that course once or twice, but having to do it so many times, 5 times, I think it was, they definitely lost their grip. And that Herc hoist is no joke either. So yeah, I think it was fun to watch from that aspect.
Anna, one of the most interesting parts of the men's race was the drama between Hunter McIntyre and Aaron Newell. Hunter slapped Aaron in the chest and then punched, hit. I don't know if he touched him. There was definitely physical contact.
Yes.
And then Aaron tossed his bucket. Like, those buckets are heavy, and he threw it hard. Looks like it hit Hunter in the back. Anna, what did you think of that interaction?
So you include Hunter with anything, and like you expect there to be drama. And I think he intentionally does that to like kind of set the tone for the other athletes, like kind of calling out everybody and just saying, like, putting them on notice and saying like, hey, y'all better be on your game because we're all competing for $100,000, right? But yeah, whenever I initially saw it, it did kind of look like, as he was running by Aaron, it looked like like, hey, you're out here running with the pros or whatever he meant by that physical interaction. But I definitely didn't expect Aaron to respond in kind in that way. And that was interesting.
Mike, on the score sheet, the entire episode after that event, it had Hunter scores and Aaron scores with an asterisk next to it. It says pending penalties. What do you think they're going to do as far as penalties?
So I'm not too sure. I thought that was probably the weakest point of the episode to me, is when they had Mike Morris and Hunter standing next to each other, and Mike's supposed to be like this big professional, like, okay, I'm, the referee here. And Hunter just like makes him look like a small, insignificant. I mean, Hunter does that naturally, like physically, the way that he looks. But I just thought that was interesting. So I don't know. I think it could be a little bit of nothing, and they just could be hyping it up for next episode. But I wasn't at all really surprised to see that Aaron threw the bucket on Hunter. Like, they hate each other. They've hated each other for a while. And it's just kind of funny to see that play out.
How much of that do you think they were playing up for the cameras, and how much of that is genuine dislike?
I think it's pretty genuine. I know that they don't like each other. I think maybe the bucket might have been specifically for the video, but I don't. They don't like each other.
Jason, one thing that Hunter and Aaron have in common that you and I do not is that they both have chosen to grow mullets on purpose. What are your thoughts on that?
I think they're both guys that like to get attention, and a mullet draws a lot of attention. So why not? They got the big gold locks to do it.
The result. Oh, go ahead. No, jump in.
I want to ask a question of everyone, because when I first watched the interaction, it did seem like Hunter's thing. And again, they don't show you a whole lot of video of Hunter's smack or whatever you want to call it, but it did kind of seem to me just like a bro slap, and I can't tell intensity. The thing that actually caught my eye was the next day when Atkins made his social media post about it. And he was like, yeah, I was right there. And I saw Hunter slap Aaron, and he put like hard, like all caps. Like, so he made a point to kind of point out that he hit him like harder than it looked. So that was the only time I've ever thought like, ooh, maybe he gave him a really good shot. I don't know. Cause I mean, I don't know, to throw the bucket just seems like that's a pretty extreme answer to what seemed like a pretty like benign little smack, but I don't know. I wasn't there.
The bucket throw seemed a little excessive to me.
Some of it I think could be relationships too. Like if someone that I am friends with and that I love and that is like comes up and kind of like, punches you in the ribs gently, kind of whatever, you'd be like, oh, all right, yeah. But if someone like you genuinely do not like comes up and does that, like it can be disrespectful. And like,
that's a good point.
Like it's fight. Actually. Like if you or I were to do something on a course to each other versus, me and someone I do not like, I don't know if I'd throw a bucket, but I wouldn't be excited about it. So I can see it being just the relationship kind of can dictate the way it was received.
That's actually a good point. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is also not the first time that he's done that too. Like he's done it in like, I believe TMX too. He slapped Isaiah Vidal. Like he slaps a lot of people. And I think it's very much more disrespect than like inflicting pain.
You know what's funny about? I thought about that too. The Isaiah one, Hunter was kind of the recipient. Like Isaiah kind of started that fight, and then I wonder if you never know, like if that was in the back of Hunter's mind, like he remembered that, and this one's going to go differently, or anyway, because Atkins and Hunter kind of aligned with each other on that after Isaiah did. This is like 3 years ago drama,
right?
Yeah. But then, so after this happened with, this sounds like a soap opera almost. But after Hunter and Aaron had his thing. Like a couple events later is the tug of war, and everybody, and Hunter is going up against Kurt Magid, the NFL guy, and everyone is over on Kurt's side, like coaching him up, like do it fast. He's got more endurance than you, so you need to be fat. Like Hunter didn't have a big cheering squad for that, so I wonder. Anyway, it's just interesting to watch.
Well, there was also a point in the episode where even Ryan had said that, Hunter's pushed me over in rivers before on courses and everything. So it's not unlike him to do something like that during a race.
And I've never seen that, at least like on camera. Yeah. And I feel like I've watched most of what Spartans put out. So that might have happened like just in the heat of the battle. This isn't for TV. This is just like, I want to beat you kind of thing, or I'm going to, anyway. But Hunter knows where the cameras are. Like he is 100% aware of that.
100%.
Yeah.
And I swear, like, it seems like 80% of the things out of that guy's mouth are just like made for TV quotes. It's like, he knows he's a veteran of not just the sport, but also just television in general, and he's been to the WWE training stuff. So it's like, he gets it. He knows how to be a heel. And I love it.
Did you hear Hunter talking about being a dancer in the woods?
Dancer in the woods?
Of course.
Yep. Anyway, let's talk about the women's race, the women's Spartan Cross. Lindsay Webster won it. Corinna Coppin came in second. Nicole Miracle in third. Jason, what did you think of the women's Spartan Cross?
I think after that, it made me look at how many obstacle course racers were actually in the events. I think the guys had maybe 3, and then the women had maybe 4. And so that's what you saw on top of that. And then at the bottom, was the women who they were struggling to get through some of the obstacles towards the end of it.
Anna, what do you think about the athletes who like the long distance runners or the people who have no obstacle experience, kind of showing. You know what? Who I'm thinking of is the Chelsea Magnus, the adventure racer. There's not going to be a lot of sleep deprivation this event. It doesn't look like for these 4 days, right? Some of these athletes have none, but very little experience in these. What do you think about them? Their chances?
As far as like the obstacle course race goes, I mean, they did their damnedest, but actually what I found interesting was Faith, the bodybuilder, because like on the women's side, it's a lot of the athletes are a very specific body type, right? And so you see this bodybuilder come in and she's definitely holding her own. Like she didn't score any points the first couple events, but like that last event, she just like destroyed that last event.
Yeah, Faith Cook, she actually won all of these strength events. We'll talk about in a second.
Yeah.
But she finished 10th in the obstacle course race. And 10th place is 1 point versus 25 for first place. So, and at the end of all 3 events, Faith is sitting in first place. So, yeah, that's a good point. Mike, what did you think?
But I also think it's interesting to see, because I don't think, and I was trying to think about this whenever I was watching the episode, but I don't think I had ever really seen Corinna Coffin go like really head to head with Lindsay and Nicole. So I thought that was really interesting because I had always seen her at like stadium races and like the shorter events. But I thought it was really interesting to see that competition because like Corinna mentioned it too during the episode, like she wanted to show up and like, hey, I'm actually like really good at this.
Have I told you guys my Corinna Coffin story? Have you heard this? So at Battle Frog in 2016 in SoCal, I live in Southern California, so I was at the race and like any other OCR, like the elites and the regular folks are on the same course at the same time. And so I'm just kind of doing my thing, just like do, and you're going over walls and you're going through black tubes. And I'm a bigger guy and I hate those black tubes because once you get in there, like there's not a lot you just got to kind of like squeegee your way through. And I'm kind of like, finally I get through this stupid black tube. And as soon as I stand up, right behind me, Corinna Coffin, the same tube, pops up behind me and starts like running past me. And I was like, she's competing for money. And I am slowing her down. And I had no idea she was behind me. She didn't say anything. She wasn't like, hey, come on, let's go. Like she was just waiting for me to do. Anyway, so I probably cost Corinna Coffin like $500. Anyway, sorry about that, Corinna.
It was cool to see how they were allowing people to get on the obstacles before the race. At least that's how it looked. So they were actually able to like think about what techniques they were going to use during the race. And in the past for Spartan, that's been a problem is that they don't want people getting on the Spartan courses before the race, especially the championship weekend. So it was really, I thought it was awesome to see that because especially these people who aren't used to these obstacles had a chance to try to figure it out first.
What did you think about Grant doing his lache there? Like,
what was that? That was so amazing. What was that obstacle he was on? Because he literally just jumped to the bar and then lacheyed and hit the bell.
Yeah, I think he was on Twister.
Was it Twister? Okay.
Yeah, because I remember thinking specifically like that's not how you're supposed to do that, but it still looks really cool.
Are you allowed to grab that middle bar like he did?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Like the truss? I don't think
Yeah, you can.
Oh, you can?
Yeah.
He made it look easy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a good distance.
Yeah.
That was really impressive. I thought that was fantastic. That was impressive.
On the women's side, Rhea Coble finished a kind of surprising, disappointing 6th place. What do you think about that, Mike?
I was kind of surprised by that as well. But I guess if Rhea is really known for anything, it's more the longer endurance, more on the running side than the obstacle side. So maybe she got a little burnt out, or maybe she kind of realized that, if she was having a tough time, there's no real point in pushing too much because just the way that the points are weighed, especially in like towards the bottom, it's interesting. It's almost like a learned helplessness thing there, that if you don't do too well, you're only going to get like 2 points or 0 points, so maybe it was more mental, kind of conserve some energy.
I think she also mentioned that it was there was a lot of heavy obstacles in there too, so you had the bucket carries, and they were doing these multiple times. Normal Spartan race, you're getting one of those obstacles in a single race, but they were doing the Hercules horse 5 times? Was it 5 laps?
Yeah.
So I think that probably is what hurt her the most.
Any last thoughts?
Obstacle deaths.
Any last thoughts on the Spartan Cross before we move on to the swim?
Yeah, I thought it was cool that Sam Briggs took fourth. I mean, we know she's going to be good with the strength stuff, right? But then I forgot. I guess she had a triathlete background before she got into CrossFit. I think that's what they said. And so it's like the fact that she was able to run, as well with the top OCR ladies. I thought that was pretty impressive.
Yeah. The second event of the day was the open water swim, a 45-minute swim around a 200-meter lap. As many laps as possible. Water is 55 degrees warm.
Yeah. Can we just start by saying I never want to run? I never want to have to swim for 45 minutes ever, unless my life depends on it. Like, that just doesn't seem like fun at all.
Just laps in a pool, Carlo? No,
not at all. And I like swimming, but not like that.
Anna, what did you think of the open water swim?
That was interesting too. I was really surprised to see some of the OCR athletes place where they did, considering you had professional triathletes out there.
For the men, on the men's side, the top two finishers were triathletes: Jared Shoemaker, Josiah Medow. Man, Josiah, I apologize for mispronouncing your name. Herman Demick was in third. Ryan Atkins in fourth. Other OCR finishers: Aaron Newell in sixth. Ryan Kent in seventh. Hunter McIntyre in 10th place on the open water swim. What do you think about the OCR athletes' performance, Mike?
Well, a little surprised about Hunter McIntyre being as low as he was. But again, I think as Carlo said earlier before we were recording, is that he's very muscly and doesn't help him float very well. Along with, I think it was Kurt Maggot, was he the football player? He did surprisingly worse than I expected as well, especially since he does have a free diving background and he's very familiar with the water, but I guess he couldn't really handle the cold. So I think that may be a factor there that a lot of people aren't really aware of. Because it does get kind of cold up here in New England, so maybe that was a factor as well.
At this point, we're all so used to running, and we've learned to pace ourselves running. But if you remember, before you got into running, I know that was the problem for me, is I didn't know how to pace myself. So I felt like I couldn't run a long time, but it was only because I ran too fast. And swimming, I feel like it's the same thing. Once you get in the water and you start trying to do it, you have to learn how to pace. And for people that, Carlo, you're saying you don't think you could swim for 45 minutes, but if you slow down, you can. So
very good point. Yeah.
That's probably one of the things that hurt some of the obstacle racers, just that they haven't spent a lot of time in the water like that.
I wonder.
I think cramping was an issue too.
I wonder how soon they swam after the Spartan Cross. Like if it was, it sounds like it was the same day. Like if it was immediately, if it was, after a lunch break, or.
I think someone made a comment on that about how it was pretty quickly after too, and so that was cause for a lot of cramping as well.
And then also, when's the last time most of these athletes went swimming? Most of us swim when we're kids, right? Unless you make an effort to join a gym that has a pool, or you live in Malibu,
or you're a triathlete.
And even people who have a pool in their backyard. I live in California, and tons of people have pools, but they're these small little pools that you don't swim laps in. You have your kids' pool party in. So a lot of people, I think this was a good challenging event for pushing people out of their comfort zone.
Well, even the football player being a free diver, he's not doing distance swimming with that. So again, not having to pace himself in that same kind of way. I really did like the format though. We love these endurance races like World's Toughest, where you get to stop in between laps. So the fact that they had a place they could get out and rest and then go for another one, that was pretty cool, made it interesting too.
A lot of these events, that quote where they say if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, you'll think, the fish is terrible at it. But, I think of that, these triathletes, we're asking them to pick up, 200-pound rocks. And these long distance runners are asking them to, swim in cold water for 45 minutes. They don't have an ounce of body fat on them. So I have nothing but respect for all 24 of these athletes. On the women's side for the swim, first place was Lauren Weeks. Second place, Christy O'Connell. Third place was Lindsay Webster. The other OCR athletes, Corinna Coffin was in fourth, Ray Coble in fifth, Nicole Miracle in seventh. Jason, what did you think of the women's swimming race?
I think it was cool to see Lindsay Webster be surprised at how well she did. She, I guess, doesn't really consider endurance really long distance and endurance stuff her thing. So not being a swimmer herself, she did better than she expected.
it's kind of a cliche to say that Ryan and Lindsay are nice people. Like I hate saying it. It's true, obviously, but I hate saying it over and over because people keep saying it. But humility is not thinking less of yourself. It's thinking of yourself less. And I think that Lindsay defines that to me. She's like, wow, that was great. Like, I wasn't expecting third place. Like, she wasn't like flexing or bragging. She was like genuinely happy for herself.
Genuinely excited.
Yeah. And it's 100% genuine because I've met them several times at several different events. And it's like, that's just totally who she is. And like, I thought it was funny during the heavy lifting event, whenever she's even like trying to lift that big stone that's like probably twice her size. And she still has like that same smile on her face.
Unreal, right?
Yeah.
Always smiling.
Always smiling.
The final event of the day was the Spartan Highland Games, which had the tug of war, Spartan stones, and the Kaiser sled challenge, the sledgehammer slam. Carlo, what did you think about tug of war for the men?
Well, obviously, I think the highlight, right, of the tug of war was Kurt and Hunter, which they were setting up kind of pretty much throughout the whole thing. It's kind of like, I feel this. I mean, we don't know what's going to happen exactly in the second episode, but I feel like there's a Aaron Newell, Hunter McIntyre wrestling match coming up. There's no way they can't have that. That just seems too juicy at this point. But yeah, it was great. I really liked it. It makes me realize, like, gosh, what a interesting sport to be good at. Like how, because there's brute strength, but there's also obviously there's technique, and there's the jumping thing, and then do you thing. And I thought it was interesting. It was obviously very
jumping.
slippery.
What are you talking about jumping?
Well, because some folks were like, they would jump and then they'd almost try to like push and jump back, like to get a big lunge, which I just don't think that's a very like proper technique, really. But what do I know? I'm not a professional tug of war tug of war person. But yeah, at the end of that, or not the end, but where that race with Hunter and Kurt was like so close, and then it looked like Hunter was going to go over, and then I think there's that really interesting spot. I think personally that Kurt thought he probably had gone over and they were going to call it any second, and I think he just kind of took a quick second of pause, like, I got him. But then, of course, it wasn't over, and that's when Hunter kind of did his 180 and reversed it, and then, because that was really exciting. And the way they edited that was perfect, because I don't know how long that match actually took, but it seemed pretty awesome.
Mike, what did you think about the spot where it looked like Hunter may or may not have touched the line? Race, like the tug of war was over. What were your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I'm not too sure. I did like the way that Kurt explained how he's like, I'm going to play to the whistle, blah, blah, blah. I do agree with Carlo. I think there was probably a moment of hesitation because, Hunter was right there. And I think it goes to show like the footwork that you need in addition to just raw strength. If you got chicken legs, that's not really going to help you very much too. So I was kind of surprised that Hunter ended up winning. I don't know. I thought he touched the red, but yet again, if the judges didn't call it, it's kind of difficult. I mean, they had one job to kind of see who was going over the line, and if they didn't call it, they didn't call it. So
I didn't realize it until.
I was curious.
Go ahead.
And you had Yancey right there eyeballing it, right?
Yeah, they're sitting there watching it, but they showed the spot where he was like spread out and his foot was right next to it, and then right after his foot turned a little bit and kind of did look like it touched it. But what was the rule? Do you have to just barely touch it to be out? And then again, they had refs, so they didn't call it. Was replay part of the rules beforehand? I don't know.
I wonder if Spartan, before this event, they're like, hey, let's get, 24 guys out here, 12 guys, 12 girls, and we'll have events. And I wonder if they were like, we're going to have referees. We're going to have, this is what the line means. Like, if you touched, like, or did they think through all that? Like, what if someone throws a bucket at somebody else? Like, there's a lot of rules that
happens.
You can't plan for everything, but yeah.
Yeah, that happens at anything that you do for the first time. You're going to have rules that you could have never have thought of.
Right, but I'm sure they had the foresight to know that they would need some kind of judging going on because, everybody's competing for $100,000, right? So it's not just like a weekend, let's all get together and have fun and compete against each other kind of thing.
Spartan Games Season 2, throwing a bucket is an automatic DQ.
I feel like
ask us why we had to put this rule in there.
I feel like the rule book for Season 2, if it happens, is going to be a lot thicker than the rule book for Season 1.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Anna, the women's tug of war was Emma Chapman versus Faith Cook. What did you think about the women's tug of war?
Yeah, so before that match started, Emma said that she realized she had soccer cleats in her car. I was like, oh, that's convenient. And also, like, is that gonna, like, what happens if she won that? Like, would that have given her an advantage? I don't know. But like, Faith just totally just pulled her over that line. Like,
she got to the finals though with those cleats.
Yeah.
So the other 11 girls didn't have cleats. Faith didn't seem to care much about the cleats though.
Yeah, no, that made zero. That didn't even play into Faith's
something else for
there.
The rules for Season 2.
Yeah.
You saw them say that. They go, well, the rules didn't say you can't wear cleats.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
she's a soccer player, so
all the people that had VJ shoes on, those are practically cleats themselves.
Yeah, VJ shoes, trail shoes with any kind of like aggressive lugs, like
toughest grip on the planet. I guess not. Hey-o.
It was funny to see the Spartan Games kind of turn into virtual World's Toughest Mudder. Like, well, it doesn't say you can't put a dice inside the balloon. So,
yeah, they'll be a little more specific with their rules for Season 2.
The next event in the Highland Games after the tug of war was the Spartan Stones. The men had 5 stones from 114 to 230 pounds to put on or over a shelf. The women had 5 stones from 70 to 160 pounds to put on that same shelf. Jason, what did you think of the men's Spartan Stones?
It's an interesting competition, much more similar to like a strongman lifting thing. In some of those, they'll have the Atlas stones where they're nice and smooth, but the fact that they were just big stones just made it interesting in itself of how do you pick up and the technique that goes along with that. And it kind of fit where they were too, because, before they got there, before they even started the competition, Joe had them all carry rocks. And that's one of the things that he loves is getting people to just carry rocks. So I think I said it to you, Will, they had all these sponsors for each different obstacle and whatnot. And it's like, this one was Joe DeSantis. He was the sponsor for the rocks.
Yeah, there's not a lot of people selling giant rocks. Like those are literally just like, they weren't like anything sculpt. And the only reason they were 114 to 230 pounds is because they just happened to be 114 to 230 pounds. Yep. They're like, hey, how big is this one? Oh, 114. All right. Write that on there with a marker.
That's right. Just like we planned it.
Yeah. That was the prep for that event. Is everybody just looking for various sizes?
Real quick, go dig up a bigger rock. Okay.
Yeah.
It was interesting to me, the spread in performance between some of the athletes. Some of the guys only got 2 of the stones up on the shelf. Some of the guys got all 5 stones in. Kurt Majid got it in 18 seconds.
18 seconds.
Hunter, 22 seconds. Grant McCartney, 20 seconds. And then a lot of guys got stuck on 4 and some guys just on 2. It was interesting, the difference in performance from top to bottom.
Let's just say the ultramarathoners not as good.
Yeah. Yeah, they knew that too. Yeah. I was actually really surprised Grant finished in the time that he did, because I wasn't expecting him to put up a top 3 time.
I've watched Ninja Warrior for several years, not like religiously, but like I'll kind of watch. I have a TiVo, and if it's on, and then like I watch the last couple episodes to kind of see if anyone beats Mount Midoriyama. Grant McCartney is charming. Like he is like, I don't know like where he ranks on the Ninja Warrior athletes, like if he's up there with the Weatherman or whatever, but like I am shocked, like he hasn't become like his personality, and just he seems like genuinely friendly and likable and nice guy. Like he should be like on posters out there.
Yeah, I was thinking that while I was watching the episode too. I was like, man, this guy's just so nice. Like he's going out of his way to like help all these other athletes, and he said it at the beginning of the episode too, is like, that's just how they are in like the ninja community, is they kind of support all of each other and they want to see each other succeed.
And I think it takes a lighter person to be a good ninja, but he looks like he's a pretty big dude. He's got some muscle on him for sure.
The women also had their turn on these Spartan Stones. Mike, what did you think of the women's Spartan Stones?
So it's impossible to talk about this event without bringing up Faith Cook. The way that she hurled those stones over was incredibly impressive. And I thought it was kind of funny how she was saying how, I didn't feel like I was going that fast. And then I think it was like the Island Ninja. He's like, no, you were going fast.
She had the fastest overall time, right? She was like 16 something, I think.
I believe so. It was incredible to watch.
Yeah.
But again, like same kind of thing with the spread there. I mean, you have Rhea Coble that was definitely towards the end there, and it just goes to show that it's such a unique group of athletes. Like, you'll never see this group competing in another event for anything, really, right?
I don't watch a lot of MMA, but when Ultimate Fighting, I don't know if it was Ultimate Fighting or just mixed martial arts, when it first started like 30 years ago, like the very first event, it had like sumo wrestlers versus like kickboxers versus box. Like, it was just like this, throw them all in there and let's see who wins kind of thing. And it's kind of
Russian video.
It's kind of evolved into like most MMA guys look the same now, and like that's the body type to win that kind of fight. But when it started, it was just like a let's see what happens, kind of like this.
Yeah, if this stays around for a while, then you'll see the same thing happen. People will be training specifically for all those different types of events. You know, in CrossFit too, they do the same thing where they're given some loops here and there, but for the most part, they know what to expect.
I think a CrossFit athlete that can also run is probably the ideal for something like this, right?
Absolutely.
Which is kind of like Hunter McIntyre or Corinna Coffin. Like, I want to talk about like predictions at the end, but I have thoughts on that. The last event of the Highland Games was I keep forgetting the name of this. I want to call it the Sledgehammer Slam, but that's
because
not
it's a forgettable event. No offense.
That's why they tacked it on to the end.
Okay, and just I thought the way it was kind of shot it was like dark, and it's really tough to kind of film something like that. There was a reason I didn't get a whole lot of screen time.
Yeah, that was actually a CrossFit event once upon a time, like 4 years ago or so, the Kaiser Sledgehammer.
Yeah, and there was that controversy because people were hooking it with the end of the sledgehammer and all that stuff. Yeah. It's a Kaiser sled, right? Is that what they call it? Or?
Yeah. Kaiser something. I just...
Kaiser hammer thingy slide.
Yeah.
So for the Highland Games, and it was difficult to it was the last event of the day. It was dark. They were doing it in like a barn, and they didn't show any times or any results. I have no idea who finished first, who finished last. We have results for the whole Highland Games though, the last event. For the men, in first place, Hunter McIntyre. Second was Kurt Magit. Third was Grant McCartney. The other OCR athletes for the men, Ryan Kent in sixth, Aaron Newell in seventh. Kind of surprising for me, Ryan Atkins finished in eighth place in the Highland Games overall. Jason, what do you think of the men's results for the Highland Games?
Ryan may have gotten out early in tug of war, and actually that's one thing I would have liked to have seen tug of war been more of a bracketed double elimination or something other than just single elimination. That's it. Because that's, Mike Gordian goes up against the football guy and then he doesn't even get a chance.
Yeah, because they were randomly assigned for the first brackets. So yeah, that's a great point. Ryan could have got against Kurt the first round and be gone.
Yeah.
But I'm also curious, where did Hunter really make up his points? Like, he got, I guess it was the tug of war that did it for him. How far ahead was all his points? First, we don't know.
It's hard. I don't know like how they did in the individual. He got 25 because he got first in the Highland Games overall. But Hunter won. He won the tug of war. He probably did good on the Sledgehammer Slam.
He was third. Oh yeah, he was third in the stone lifting, right? So first, third, and then whatever the sled was.
Yeah. On the women's side, Faith Cook dominated. She won first place. Emma Chapman was second. Lauren Weeks in third. The OCR athletes, Corinna Coffin finished in fourth for the Highland Games. Nicole Miracle in ninth. Lindsay Webster in 10th. Ray Coble was either 11th or 12th. She finished with 0 points. Anna, what do you think of the women's results there on the Highland Games?
Well, I'll just reiterate that Faith just destroyed all the competition on that one.
Strength competitions.
Awesome. Yeah. But I wasn't really surprised with the CrossFit athletes finishing that event as they did. And the OCR athletes, with the ultra running and running backgrounds finishing where they did. So it was kind of it was a little bit more expected for me.
But out of them, seeing Corinna do the best makes sense too.
Fourth place is respectable. Like if Corinna's going to make a run at winning the whole thing, she hasn't had a bad performance yet. Let's talk about the current standings after day one on the men's side. First place is Hunter McIntyre with 44 points. Again, with that asterisk, pending penalties. Second is Ryan Atkins with 41. Third is Herman Demick with 37. Fourth, Ryan Kent with 29. Fifth, Grant McCartney with 27. Sixth, Aaron Newell with an asterisk, pending penalties, with 26. Tied for seventh place is Josiah Midog and Jared Shoemaker with 25 points. Ninth place is Kurt Majit with 19. 10th place, Matt Stevens with 14. Also tied for 10th place is Max Fennell with 14. 12th place, Mike Wardian with 2 points.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on that before we talk about the women?
I think what's interesting, and well, one thing you notice looking at the leaderboard is that there's some guys that haven't gotten any screen time, right?
Yep.
Max Fennell, I think I saw him lift 1 stone. So it's interesting to see if they're going to do some disciplines where those guys get a chance to shine. The other thing I think that's interesting to see is that Herman Demick guy. He's the strength and conditioning coach. He was actually Kurt Majit's strength and conditioning coach at Tennessee, is what he said. I mean, you look at his scores. He's actually been in the top 5 or so, and I mean, he scored 10 points, 15 points, 12 points. So he's a good all around athlete, and he obviously can run a little bit. So it'll be interesting to see how he holds up, because he's up there at the top with some of the big guys, and he's not someone that most people know.
It was interesting to see Hunter come out from the beginning to say he just wants to beat Ryan Atkins. Like, that's his expectation, is that Ryan Atkins is going to be the one that he's got to beat.
Yeah, part of that.
I think he's just there to toy with. He likes toying with Aaron, but he knows that Ryan's probably more of his legit competition. No offense to Aaron.
I hope that they settle this penalty thing quickly. Like, I don't want it to come to the 4th episode and the penalties decide who the winner is. Right?
He's pretty good though for the second episode.
He got penalties, so he's not. Yeah, that would be stupid.
But I mean, again,
what could they possibly do for penalties though that would kind of keep the playing field, the competition, like pretty even? You know, because of where they stand now with Hunter in 1st and Aaron in 6th. Like, you definitely want to penalize them if that's what the decision comes to, but how do you decide what to do without?
It could be something simple like maybe give them a point placement below, like not change anybody's placement, just give them the points for the position below what they got for that one.
For that one event, they could do a time penalty and assign it on the 10th event. The last event of the Spartan Games is another Spartan Cross. They could hold them. Do you give them both the same penalty? You know, Hunter slapped him, shouldn't have slapped him, and Hunter started it, let's say, allegedly. But that bucket was definitely more of a weapon. And Hunter was right. Like, the bucket's worse than a slap on the chest. Not defending a slap on the chest.
I got it. I got the answer.
All right.
At the beginning of the CrossFit, Spartan Cross, Aaron gets to slap Hunter, and Hunter gets to throw a bucket at Aaron. Right before they
Look at that.
Perfect.
Done.
I'd be more scared of Hunter throwing a bucket at me than I would of Aaron
too.
Slapping me.
I would let Aaron slap me 10 times before I let Hunter throw 1 bucket at me.
Hunter could throw anything at me, and I'd be afraid of it.
Yeah.
He could throw a puppy at me, and I'd be like, ah.
Let's talk about the women's leaderboard. In first place is Lauren Weeks with 50 points. Second is Corinna Coffin with 47. Third place, Lindsay Webster with 41. Fourth place, tied for fourth place, is Christy O'Connell and Faith Cook with 34. Sixth place, Sam Briggs with 24. Tied for seventh is Nicole Miracle and Emma Chapman with 23. Ninth place is Rhea Coble with 18. 10th is Samantha Wood with 8. 11th is Kellen Tyler with 4. And 12th is Chelsea Magnus with 2 points. Mike, what do you think of the women's leaderboard?
I'm not overly surprised to see Corinna Coffin up there with OCR background, triathalon background, and CrossFit background. You really can't go wrong with choosing someone like her. Lindsay Webster is also someone that you can't really bet against. I'm not as familiar with the non-OCR athletes, but it definitely does seem to be spread out the way that you would kind of think by kind of looking and getting to know more of the athletes. It's interesting because looking at just how weighed the events are towards strength too, it should be interesting to see how it kind of plays out the next few events.
Lindsay, she obviously had a hard time with the strength stuff, but she dominated the Spartan Cross like Ryan did. And I think a lot of times we kind of look at them as being on equal playing fields for obstacle course racing. But with this, I think Corinna is really more Ryan's match. She's got the strength that's needed for some of the other stuff, but she's also got running ability. Maybe she's not the top tier runner like Lindsay is, but she's a little bit closer, probably close enough.
Yeah, and I definitely wouldn't count the other CrossFit athletes out of the women's competition, because those CrossFit athletes that they have on the women's side, I mean, they're seasoned CrossFit Games athletes. So they're kind of trained to be ready for anything kind of mentality. So, I'll definitely be keeping an eye on Lindsay, but I think I agree that Corinne's definitely one to bet on.
Yeah, I think functional, the functional athlete or whatever they call that, the functional sport athlete. Especially if you look at what's left, there's like two DECA, there's two DECA workouts, there's wrestling, there's and it's like, there's a lot of strength stuff still. And so it's like Lindsay, because obviously she's not nearly as strong as some of the other women, she's going to have to absolutely win the ones like the Spartan Games, the ones that involve a lot of running and like the mountain bike and stuff like that, because I don't think she's going to do as well. And there's still a decent amount of other strength, workouts still to come. So I think someone like Corinna or some of the other, kind of cross-functioning athletes have a really good shot.
One of the longer events that we're kind of looking at the OCR athletes to do well on is on day 3, the Spartan Trail Ultra.
Right.
But I'm going to say that's only a 6-hour run, which is a long run. I get that. But Lindsay and Rhea Coble, they dominate at the 12-hour, or Rhea never loses a 24-hour race. So I think that's not going to be long enough for. I'm looking at Rhea. How can Rhea make a comeback? That run is not long enough for her to make a comeback. And then wrestling, the CrossFit all of them, the CrossFit guys, are going to just destroy it. That right? I can't see Hunter losing unless Hunter gets up against Kurt again. Say Hunter beats Aaron, Carlo's predicting, they're going to play each other. Kurt versus
Hunter. Have that? How do you not have that? Just production value. You have to have that.
If it's randomly.
I think Hunter's got the wrestling skill, though, because we saw that with Broken Skull. But then I think some people will surprise you with the wrestling, because Aaron had mentioned some things about the wrestling during the filming of it that I guess he did better than expected. And then looking at Rhea, watching the little clip about her, about the athletes, showed a picture of her in the ring, ready to go, and that was she had a face on that it didn't look like Rhea. She looked so much more intense than I've ever seen ever. She might turn into an animal. Who knows?
I think we're going to see the same problem with wrestling as we saw with the tug of war, how it's single elimination too. So there's going to be a lot of elements of luck, seeing who gets paired with who in the ring there.
Did they say that already?
Sure? I don't know if they've said it on the show, but I know it to be factual.
Okay.
Oh, well, let's talk about next
Spoilers.
episode.
Info.
Next week on the Spartan Games is mountain biking and Deca Strong, and Hunter threatens a lawsuit.
That was such a good tease.
Yeah, was that it looked like it was from the first day, though. It was the same. Yeah. He was wearing the same clothes. So it's why did they put that at the end there?
Yeah.
They put it at the,
That's how reality TV works, man.
It might be part of a previously on package they prepare.
You've been wanting more.
Yeah.
What do you guys think we're going to see in episode 2?
More drama.
Yeah, definitely more drama. I think they're feeding into this everybody team up against Hunter kind of thing.
I feel like Hunter would love that, though, right? That's kind of his jam.
Yeah, that's why he does it. That's absolutely why he did that for the very first episode. He knew what he was doing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think
ready for it.
Atkins and that Josiah guy will do really well. That Josiah guy is like a fat bike champion. That was actually the one thing I didn't know who that Josiah Medow guy is, but the fact that in that first episode that Ryan Atkins was like, "Ooh, I saw Josiah was here," and I was like, "Oh boy," and I was like, "Wait, someone made Ryan Atkins kind of be like, uh-oh." Yeah. That was fantastic. So I had to go like, "Oh, who is this guy? Who's Josiah?" And so yeah, like the mountain bike thing is going to be really interesting to see. Because, Atkins is no slouch. Like he's won plenty of races and stuff in his mountain bike days. So it'll be really fun to see how that pans out.
Mm-hmm.
What do you guys think for the rest of the series? Who do you think will be among the top 3 men? Like on the last day, looking back, final standings, top 3 men. Mike, start with you.
Definitely Hunter McIntyre, Ryan Atkins. I think they have strength, speed, and just a variety of skills on their side. I think the only question there is who's going to be the other person in there. It's really interesting to see Herman Demink doing as well as he is. I really don't know much about him. Ryan Cannon fourth, you really can't count him out. He's someone that's very good with a lot of the short course things, but he's also been on the selection, which was put on by the History Channel. So he definitely has the mental fortitude to go through days of grueling events. So I think that's going to help him too. The Island Ninja's doing phenomenal. I don't know how he'll be in the long term, because when it comes to American Ninja Warrior, not that that's not endurance, but it's not days long. You do your performance and you're done. Right. So I think we'll see some athletes start to fall apart a little bit. And I think you'll see the people who are not physically strong definitely get separated a little bit too. So it should be interesting.
The filming of those Ninja Warrior things, though, they film them all through the night. So like they have to stay up and be ready to go. So it's really is more than just, obviously the physical part of it is do your run, but there's a whole lot more waiting around.
Yeah.
Being ready to go.
That's a good point.
Yeah, but do you think that waiting around and like sleep deprivation is going to, I guess I'm thinking about that adventure racer girl, Chelsea Magnus, like, everyone's getting looks like a good night's sleep, or at least the same amount of sleep every night. Like I don't know if that's. I feel like that. I don't know if we're going to hit their wheelhouse. Those kind of athletes.
Days in a row of that kind of stuff is hard on you, though. So maybe it will take advantage. They will take advantage of it.
Jason, what do you think? I
honestly don't see it. I don't see it changing a lot from what it is. Hunter, Ryan, Herman, Ryan, and Grant, like, I wouldn't be surprised if that was the top 5. Not necessarily in the order, but somewhere in there.
What do you think, Carlo?
Yeah, the men, I definitely think it'll come down to, I mean, not to be so predictable, but I think Hunter or Ryan, because they're just so good at all some of the all of the little one-off things as well. I don't know how Hunter is on a mountain bike, right? But it's like, I know he can run. That's the one thing Grant McCartney, for as strong as he is, you see during the Spartan Cross, he's like, why is there so much running? So it's like, dude, that does not bode well. If you don't like running, like, and you've got an ultra marathon coming. And so it's like, he's going to have some rounds there with very low points. So I think that'll probably kind of knock him out as to where you look at the stuff that's left. Yeah. And I think kind of like Jason said, I think that the top 5 right now as it stands, it's going to be some iteration of that, but mostly between Hunter and Ryan for the men.
Anna, what do you think? Top 3 men?
I would have to agree with everybody, but I'm really kind of like rooting for Kurt and Max to kind of like break through at some point. Kurt's kind of got this like underdog thing going about him right now, and I kind of want to see him like break out and like give the top guys some competition up there.
Do you remember your very first OCR, or maybe your first Spartan race, where you show up and you're in the festival area and everyone around you is jacked, and they're walking with their shirts off, and they got like just
such a great point.
Yeah, that is the exact same feeling that I feel like Kurt had the first 20 minutes of the episode. He's like, you know what? I'm just going to do my best, and I'm going to try. I'm just here to not have a good time, but just like that. I got that.
He said have a good time.
I got that same energy off of him. Like, these guys are studs, and I'm feeling intimidated. I'm going to try. But I'm going to I'm not going to hold myself, beat myself up if these guys beat me, because they clearly are impressive.
Yeah, well, and I'm sure there's some hesitation there with some of the other non-OCR athletes. Like, oh, is this going to be an OCR related event.
Sure.
Like, you know.
Did you guys catch that Ryan Kent is like the best hype man for everyone ever? Like anyone they show like winning, he runs over to him, and I love it. I'm like, I loved his energy. He was literally like high-fiving everybody, even though I know he was giving advice to Kurt before the tug of war and everything. But then he's like, he seems like, I've met him a couple times, obviously at events, and he seems like a pretty chill guy. But yeah, he was genuinely excited for like everyone who was winning, and I was like, there you go, take that energy.
You know what? There's obviously some drama, but I think like 95% of the sportsmanship has been outstanding. Like not just like good, but like outstanding. Like as soon as right after Grant and Kurt did tug of war, Kurt beat Grant pretty handily. As immediately Grant walks over and gives him a high five, like, "Hey man, good job!" Like immediately just walks over there. He's happy for him, even though he just lost. It was very impressive.
Yeah, and gave him pointers about like, hey, I almost had you because this, and this.
Yeah, he switched his stance.
And,
that's right.
Yeah, and I think that's probably what I've most enjoyed about watching this first episode is watching all those top tier athletes kind of interact with each other, even though they're from different disciplines and everything.
Yeah, and then you see them get genuinely excited. Like there was one, I forget, I think it was when Kurt was doing the stones. And he blew through those things so fast. You saw like Atkins and those guys like run up because it's amazing if you're I don't know what it's like to be an elite athlete, but think about if you're an elite athlete and you try something and you're just like, oh, this is not my jam, and then you see someone just absolutely crush it. Mm-hmm. You're just like, you couldn't help but be excited because you're like, well, I just tried that and I totally flamed out, but that dude just threw those things. I mean, those first two stones, like Kurt threw those things like I would throw like my pillow. It was amazing how strong that guy is.
And real quick, when it comes to like sportsmanship, Kurt, when he called out like, "Oh, I thought I won here," he wasn't whiny about it. He was just saying it how he knew how. Like in football, like, "Hey, this like I want this to be reviewed." And then after when and then he talked it out with like Hunter, who was very himself about it, and so I think it was good to see them like hug it out a little bit. Like I think you can kind of see the true Hunter there too. Who, he's there to like start trouble, but like he also wants like some good sportsmanship as well.
That was like some football player in him coming out, like contesting the play, like check the tape, but there's the referee makes a decision. Okay, that's the decision. It's over. Like there's no whining, no throwing a fit. Like I accept it. Ref made a decision.
Yep.
Anna, what do you think about the top 3 women? Final results into the Spartan Games. Who will be on the podium?
Oh, so I definitely think Corinna will be top 3. I don't want to count Sam Briggs or Emma Chapman out in the top 3 to 5 somewhere, just because of their performance in CrossFit Games and like other OCR type events like TMX, like Emma. And then third place, it'll be kind of interesting to see if Lindsay can hold her own in the top, top 3 or 5, 3 to 5 women.
What do you think, Carlo?
Yeah, very similar opinion. I think it'd be interesting to see. I think if Lindsay can hold tight to some degree in the strength stuff, she'll be okay. I do know she said at one point like she hadn't like touched a barbell in like forever, and I know there's like some barbell stuff with some of the later ones with some of the strength stuff. So yeah, I think it really leans towards if you're a strength athlete who can run a little bit, which like Corinna is obviously. And then I think that's why I really think she's probably got the best shot, but kind of like Anna said, it's hard to go against some of the CrossFit athletes as well. But then there's, I don't know, I have a hard time going against Lindsay too, but maybe that's just the OCR side of me, like going that you never really, push too hard against Lindsay. So yeah.
I'm surprised to see Emma Chapman as far down in the rankings after those 3 events as she is. So while I think I want to pull for her a little bit, I don't necessarily know if she's going to have enough out of the rest of the endurance events to get her higher in at least towards the top.
One thing that's interesting is we all feel pretty confident about the men, but the women, I feel like it could go like Lindsay could be first place, second place, or she could be like 6th place.
Yep.
And with the men, like we feel pretty confident. And I don't know if that's just because not like we know the men better than the women, but and also like we know the OCR athletes a lot better than we know Max Fenno or Samantha Wood. Anyway, that's just a thought. Jason, what do you think about those top three? Oh, go ahead, Carlo.
Oh, no, I think we know I think or at least we feel like we know the men's strength capabilities a little more than some of the women. I think that's probably part of it. But I don't know. We'll find out here soon.
Jason, what do you think? Top three women.
Yeah, it's gonna be really interesting. I expect to see Lindsay in there somewhere. I would take it. Corinna probably will take first, but she's gonna have to fight for it. I don't know if I can pick a third. Like Lauren Weeks pulled out that swim, but she's kind of middle of the road with the other stuff. So, yeah, I'll have to wait another day to see.
Mike Stefano, top three women, final results. What do you think?
All right, so first, I'm definitely taking Corinna Coffin. Like I said, she has a skill set that suits her for just about every single one of these events. Even wrestling, I believe she was on Broken Skull as well. So there's really nothing that she hasn't really done before on here. So I think I'm going to pick her for first. Lindsay really does well with what she does well with, which is a lot. But with the hardcore strength stuff, I think that's really going to make her lose a lot of points. So that should be interesting. And Lauren Weeks, too, even if she did just kind of get middle of the road for some of the other events, sometimes being safely in the middle of the road might be enough if she's able to take the top for some of the events compared to the constant like first and last. So I'm not sure who else to really look for. I don't think Faith Cook is going to stay up there too long. I know that she definitely has some of the big strength things coming up that will suit her, but I don't see her doing really well with the trail running and everything like that. She's been very vocal about how she's, a heavier girl because she's so muscular, and that's really going to weigh her down quite literally for the longer events.
I think for the men, it'll be Hunter, Ryan, and then also, you know how at World's Toughest every year, this doesn't happen so much in Spartan Race, but it happens at World's Toughest a lot. Every single year, almost, it's of the 6 podium spots, 1 or 2 people are someone you've never heard of. Like, you don't even know their name, right? Aaron Ross came out of nowhere 2 years ago.
Right.
I wonder if it'll be Hunter, Ryan, and then one of these guys that, probably one of the CrossFit guys that you and I aren't as familiar with. But I think one of those podium spots will be somebody that's not an OCR guy that we are familiar with. I think the same thing on the women's side. I wish I knew Lauren Weeks better. I wish I knew more about her because she's in first place for the women. But I want to say like Corinna Coffin because I know Corinna Coffin and like, I don't know if it was Anna or whoever said it, but like their skills, like her skill set is she's CrossFit. She's done OCR. She's done Battle Frog. She's done Broken Skull. Like Corinna Coffin, like it's hard to pick against her, right? I always say I don't like betting against the champ, right? But there's no Hunter McIntyre is a world champion. Ryan Atkins, a world champion. Lindsay Webster, world champion. Nicole Miracle, Rhea Coble. Like, there's a lot of world champions, and you can't pick them all.
Right.
So I think we're gonna have 1 or 2 of the top finishers that are someone like we've never even Faith Cook. I hadn't heard her name before this week, right? And she's crushing it physically. Mike, I think I'm going to disagree with you on Faith Cook though. If she can dominate the last 2 DECA events or the 2 DECA events, and then just get some points from the trail running and some points from mountain biking. I think Faith Cook might surprise us for how she finishes. She looks like she's, I don't know, wrestling is a lot of technique too, but I think Faith Cook could be good at wrestling too. The last event, the 10th event of the Spartan Games is another Spartan Cross. And that is a big chance for all of the OCR athletes that we know to kind of make up last minute points.
Right.
So I don't think they did it on purpose, but I think if it's going to come down to like a tiebreaker kind of thing, the OCR athletes have a little bit of edge just because that's the last event and everyone's going to know where they stand going into that.
And I'm curious how much they'll change that up. If it's going to be, because if you know Joe, there's no way he'll make it be the same course again. There's going to be a wrinkle or 2 probably thrown in there. I don't know for sure, but it seems that that's what you would do. Or then again, maybe I'm wrong. You open and close with the same event and, see what happens.
I mean, it is Spartan Cross 2.0, so hopefully we'll see it change up a little bit.
Why don't you guys talk about your podcast, your shows, where people can find more about you, and then we'll wrap it up with last thoughts. Mike Stefano, how can people listen to your show?
So it's Obstacle Running Adventures. You can find us anywhere you listen to podcasts. We're also on the OCR Report website. And we actually got a really nice shout out from the running public, which made my week.
Nice.
So you can find us there.
Jason Dupree.
OCR Talk. Look us up on Facebook, Instagram. Anywhere you get podcasts, it'll show up. It's me and Anna on there talking about stuff. And yeah, that's it. Go ahead, Anna.
Carlo Piscitello.
Yeah, well, I'm on the Piss and Cock show, which is kind of on a little bit of a hiatus just due to COVID and other, like us having jobs and whatnot. But you'll also find me a lot of times here on the OCR Report and World's Toughest Podcast, especially going into next season, providing we get to have a season.
Anna, you are on OCR Talk with Jason. Do you want to plug anything special? A little bonus plug there for you?
I got nothing.
How can I get an OCR Talk T-shirt, Anna?
Ooh, good question.
Oh, that is on our Threadless site, the OCRreport.threadless.com.
Have any of you guys gotten your Threadless gear yet?
Yes, I finally got mine. Like the day after, I was like, where is it?
I ordered like 6 T-shirts, because I need more OCR T-shirts, right?
Yes.
And they're nice. They're high quality. The OCRreport.threadless.com. Very very excited about it.
I'm sorry, did you say that was the OCRreport.threadless.com?
The OCRreport.threadless.com. You had it right, Carlo.
OCRreport.threadless.com.
Yeah.
Okay.
And everybody should know the shirts. When you look at the shirts and you see Extra Soft and Tri-Blend, the Tri-Blend shirts are going to be pretty much a similar make that some of the old Spartan finisher shirts were. And like even this Savage Race shirt I've got on right now, it's like a heather style, so you can tell it's blended. And those are, I mean, everybody knows those shirts. They're really soft and really good. And the other shirts, the Extra Soft, they are still very soft, but it's 100% cotton, so it's a solid color and doesn't have quite the same feel, but still really nice.
And that was OCRreport.threadless.com.
Carlo, you're not getting paid per mention. It's
Just trying to be a good company man, Hicks.
Appreciate it. Guys, any last thoughts on the Spartan Games?
Can we get a reminder of how the events are going to go? Because it's only 3 days of competition, right?
Sure, yeah. So there's 4 episodes. The second episode, number 2, airs on December 9th. In that episode will be 2 events, Deca Strong and mountain biking.
Is that all what they did in one day, or is there more in that?
No, they were there. Tell me if I'm wrong, guys. They were competing for 4 days.
Correct.
And each day of competition is 1 episode of television or a video.
So it is 4 days of competing.
So on this episode 2 will be Deca Strong and mountain biking. Episode 3 will be wrestling and the Spartan Trail Ultra. And episode 4, the final episode, will be Vertical 300, which I'm not exactly sure what that is. The Deca Heavy and Spartan Cross.
That's a big climb.
Yeah, it's like a trail race, but a climb. So
it's like the Red Bull. What is that? The Red Bull 400.
400.
Yeah,
man,
it's like that, I believe.
Toughest Mudder Whistler was on a ski hill, and every lap.
Venue.
Oh man, every lap you had to go up that ski hill. It destroyed people. It was crazy. And by people, I mean me.
I'm people.
All right, guys. Any last thoughts on Spartan Games before we wrap it up?
Looking forward to seeing the rest of it. It's a really good show. It was super enjoyable to watch, and can't wait for more.
I've got one thing, and it was just one of those things. It's literally the only moment of the show that actually made me like lurch and be concerned. And it's kind of an odd thing, but anyone who's ever taken an OSHA safety class, if you watched Aaron Newell when he was trying to lift that one stone that was too heavy for him, like textbook how you don't lift anything ever. It was like straight legs, bent at the waist, totally arched back. I had just taken my like back care training at work like the previous week. So it was just, he had it. It was obviously too heavy and he just lengthened out. I was like, no, dude. And then he dropped it. And I was like, oh my God. Like the inner OSHA person in me was like, that guy, no, he's decertified. He loses all lifting privileges from here going forward. So anyway, that was...
When I watched the show, I thought to myself, I would love to do this event, but whenever it came to the rock stones, I was like, I might have to bow out of that one. I think my back would explode.
I don't think I could make it past like the second rock. Like those rocks were heavy.
Yeah, and awkward.
Very awkward.
I didn't even mention...
That's why
I had to pause the show because I was laughing so hard because of one audio clip.
That's not just like fake meat. That's like real dangerous meat on a man.
I actually wrote that down as one of my favorite quotes The other one that I wrote down because I just love Ryan Atkins is if Ryan and Lindsay ever have kids, Ryan's going to be like, you could tell he's like kind of the tough love parent. He'll always tell you exactly what he thinks. When he was telling Kurt before the tug of war, and he was like, he probably has better endurance than you, so take him out quick. He's like, look, dude, I'm just telling you how it is. Let's be fair here. You don't waste your time on this guy. You got to go fast because let's be fair. He probably has better endurance, and he's not being mean. It's just like that's legit.
Yeah, he's not wrong.
No, exactly.
Solid advice.
And that's the thing. He tried. He lost his opportunity to take him out quick, and then
And the advice was correct. Like Ryan was not wrong. He 100%.
That's right.
All right, guys. So December 9th on Spartan's YouTube channel, episode 2. I will be watching it along with you. OCR Report team. Thanks much.
Thanks, Will.
Thanks, Will.
Special thanks to Mike, Anna, Jason, and Carlo. Well done, team. We'll talk again next week. What did you think of the Spartan Games? Let me know. 619-485-2726. Leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. I will talk with you soon. Go spend time with someone you love.